what the Crimean bridge's protection looks like after 3 attacks. January 03, 2026. If that headline doesn't grab you, I don't know what will. Us. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Arya in the latest deep dive by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we are undertaking a deep dive into the Kerch Bridge.
Which is, arguably the most strategically and symbolically valuable fixed target of the entire war in southern Ukraine.
It's the ultimate prize, and the resilience of that structure, combined with the sheer audacity of the strikes against it, makes it a perfect case study in modern asymmetric warfare.
It really does. Russia declared this thing one of the most protected objects on the planet right after its opening in 2018. But, and this is the key, Ukraine has found ways to punch through those defenses 3 separate times.
And we've synthesized a stack of defense intelligence reports, satellite imagery, specialized engineering assessments to understand exactly how those attacks succeeded and how Russia is scrambling to protect it now.
And we are going to get into some truly fascinating details. We're talking about highly sophisticated sabotage, like the most recent 2025 underwater attack. SBU agents detonated an explosive equivalent to a staggering 1,100 kilograms of TNT.
1,100 kilograms.
Right under the pylons. I mean, that's not a simple hit and run. That is structural degradation on a massive scale.
And on the flip side, we'll reveal the almost archaic countermeasures Russia is using. We're talking huge concrete underwater hedgehogs to block these 21st century drones.
And even Cold War-era tactics. The whole Maskarovka doctrine, massive smoke screens, intended to just hide the entire structure from view.
And then there's my favorite detail. We're going to explore the surprising and, let's be honest, slightly bizarre fact that one of the key defense elements of the area comes from specialized defense dolphins.
The guard dogs of the sea. It's a continuation of a decades-old Soviet program, and it's absolutely real.
Okay, let's unpack this. So let's start with the basics. Why is this bridge target number 1? It's not just a bridge, it's a deliberate symbol.
That dual identity is the key. Logistically, it's irreplaceable. The bridge connects the Kerch Peninsula to Russia, serving as the main artery.
The logistical lifeline.
Exactly. For all Russian forces in the southern campaign and for all the bases across Crimea, every tank, every shell, every troop train relies on that single structure. You disrupt it, you directly degrade Russia's ability to sustain its front lines.
You really can't overstate that logistical dependence. But the symbolic weight, that's arguably just as important for both sides, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The bridge's opening in 2018 was a massive personal propaganda win for the Kremlin. It was meant to physically cement the 2014 annexation.
So it was presented as this immutable fact, a permanent connection.
Right. And that's why successfully damaging it 3 times delivers such a psychological blow. It's on par with the sinking of the Moskva. It proves that nothing in Crimea, no matter how heavily fortified, is actually safe.
And Ukraine has been crystal clear about this from the very beginning.
Completely unambiguous.
Yeah.
Early in the war, you had Major General Dmytro Marchenko publicly call it target number 1.
And presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak has said it over and over.
He has. He's stressed the position that the bridge is an illegal construction and a legitimate military target that must be destroyed. There is zero ambiguity here. Kiev sees its destruction as a necessary step toward deoccupying the peninsula.
The intent is clear, the actions have followed. So let's trace the evolution of how those intentions turned into successful and increasingly sophisticated attacks.
The 3 successful strikes are not just copies of each other. You can see a clear learning curve, a move from potential vehicle-borne explosives all the way to this very sophisticated underwater sabotage.
So the first one, the 2022 breach on October 8th, that was the initial shock. The damage was immediate and very visible. 3 of the 4 road spans collapsed.
And those 7 rail fuel containers went up in flames on the railway bridge. It seriously hampered all logistical traffic.
Russia's official story was a truck bomb, immediately.
They claimed it was a truck bomb, but defense analysts, including former British Army explosives experts, they questioned that almost instantly. The pattern of the damage, it showed a massive upward explosive force.
From underneath the road spans.
Precisely. Which is highly consistent with a clandestine maritime drone or maybe even Dnipro-placed charge detonating under the surface.
And that set the stage for the 2023 attack on July 17th. That one removed all the ambiguity about the method.
It did. This is a clear shift to uncrewed surface vessels, or USVs. We saw 2 exploding drone boats hit the structure, At least one road section collapsed, and unfortunately, 2 people were killed.
And crucially, Ukraine later officially acknowledged responsibility.
Which showcased the USV as a proven, mass-producible weapon for these kinds of deep strikes.
So we go from a potential truck bomb to confirmed naval surface drones, which brings us to the most recent breach, June 3rd, 2025. This wasn't a surface hit, this was a pure targeted sabotage.
This is where we see the peak of ingenuity. SBU agents claimed responsibility for physically planting C4 explosives directly onto the bridge pylons, underwater.
So they weren't just skimming the surface with a USV, they were going for the structural Achilles heel.
Exactly. And the size of that charge is just staggering. An explosive force equivalent to 1,100 kilograms of TNT.
Why does placing that much explosive underwater matter so much more than hitting the deck?
Well, water is non-compressible. So when that charge detonates, the water efficiently transfers the entire massive shock wave directly into the concrete and steel of the pylons. The blast wave is magnified.
Causing deep internal fractures you might not even see on the surface.
Exactly. The Ukrainian Navy said the key and most complex part of the bridge was damaged. And that kind of deep damage, it changes everything for the bridge's lifespan.
So it's not just about the immediate repair anymore.
No. Engineers point out that the explosion compromises the concrete, it creates microfractures, and it exposes the internal rebar, the steel core, to corrosive salt water. And that damage starts a kind of slow-motion structural countdown.
It shifts the threat from a temporary closure to a long-term structural integrity kill.
That's the perfect way to put it. Ukraine isn't just seeking a one-time explosion. They're planting a corrosive time bomb that exponentially drives up Russia's maintenance costs and degrades its military load capacity over the next few years.
So faced with these 3 successful escalating attacks, Russia has thrown everything, including the kitchen sink, at defending this bridge.
They really have. They're deploying defenses that span generations of warfare, everything from massive physical blocks to, sophisticated electronic trickery.
Let's start with the low-tech response to the naval drones, these underwater hedgehogs.
It's a great name for a pretty crude but necessary countermeasure. They're just massive concrete and steel barriers, essentially large cubes or tetrahedrons that were flooded and sunk under the navigable arches in the bridge.
The goal being just to physically stop the drones.
Just to snag them or stop them. It's a very 20th century solution, a kinetic barrier for a 21st century problem. It just shows you how challenging these USVs are. If you can't shoot them, you try to trip them.
And then there's the other low-tech solution, deception. Maskiovka.
Central to Russian military doctrine, we saw it with the massive smoke screens.
Right, in May 2023.
Exactly. During a security exercise, they deployed these TDA-3 truck-mounted smoke generators. These things can create huge, dense smoke screens to partially mask the bridge, hoping to confuse optical sensors or targeting systems.
But UK intelligence assessed this as ineffectual. Why didn't it work?
It really just comes down to execution. I mean, deception is great in theory, but the intel reports pointed to poor planning and low-level disciplinary failures. If the wind shifts, or the smoke is deployed too thinly, or not fast enough, it just offers very little real protection.
So the failure of low-tech probably pushed them more towards reliable, high-tech countermeasures.
Which brings us to electronic warfare, or EW. This is where Russia really shows its sophistication, deploying these GNSS spoofing systems.
This is truly ingenious stuff. They're not just jamming the signal, right? They're actively lying to the drone.
Exactly. Jamming cuts the signal off. Spoofing manipulates it. These EW systems, which might be mobile analogs to the military-grade Shipov-Nagaro, they feed the drone's navigation receiver false coordinates.
So instead of thinking it's flying to the Kerch bridge?
The drone suddenly believes it's hundreds of miles away, often at a distant civilian airport like Anapo or Simferopol.
Wait, so the drone's own safety features are weaponized against it?
That's the brilliance of it. Most of these drones have geofence locks in their firmware to stop them flying near airports.
Yeah.
So if the drone suddenly thinks it's at Simferopol Airport, the software just activates the geofence.
It hits its own emergency stop button.
Right. It forces it to land immediately or return to its launch point. The threat is neutralized well before it ever reaches the bridge. It's a denial of service attack against the drone's own brain.
That's a massive technological advantage. But even with that, we still have to talk about the most unique defense element.
The marine mammals.
The dolphins, the guard dogs of the sea. It still sounds like something out of a Cold War novel.
It literally is. Satellite imagery confirms that these specialized defense dolphins are housed in pens right at the entrance to the Sevastopol naval base. This isn't new. It's a direct continuation of a Soviet-era program that they reactivated.
Why dolphins? I mean, why haven't underwater sensors or drones replaced them?
Because of their natural advantages. They are incredibly fast, agile, and they have this exceptional natural sonar that is arguably more effective at specific tasks than current technology. Their role is anti-sabotage,
So they're looking for underwater mines or...
or preventing Ukrainian Special Operations Forces from infiltrating the harbor to plant charges on high-value Russian warships. The fact that they still rely on a biological defense system just speaks to the persistent and unpredictable threat of human infiltration.
And we really can't view these bridge attacks in a vacuum. They're part of a much wider, meticulously planned campaign to systematically isolate and degrade the logistics of Russia's southern front.
That is the essential context. Ukraine has been pursuing this relentless strategy of crippling high-value Russian assets all across the Crimean Peninsula. It creates this cumulative pressure that makes the whole region unsustainable for Moscow.
And on the naval front, the success rate has been just stunning.
It really has. Since 2022, they've damaged or sunk multiple high-value ships, often using the same USV technology. We saw the sinking of the missile corvette Ivanovets in 2024 and the patrol ship Sergei Kotov that same year.
And every successful naval strike just restricts Russia's ability to protect the Kerch Strait, which makes the bridge even more vulnerable.
Exactly. And the deep strike capability against air assets has been just as important. Hitting those air bases isn't just about destroying jets. It's about wrecking the logistics chain.
Like the attack on Saki Air Base in August 2022.
Right, where they confirmed at least 7 aircraft destroyed. Or Jankoy Air Base, which is the main logistics hub for the Russian army there, has been hit multiple times. And critically, these strikes aren't just targeting fuel depots. They're taking out high-value air defense components, S-300 and S-400 systems.
So they're attacking the logistics hub and removing the air defense umbrella that's supposed to protect it. That's incredible strategic planning.
And it speaks to the ingenuity of the weapons being deployed. We've seen Western systems like Storm Shadow cruise missiles used to strike the Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Sevastopol. That attack in September 2023 reportedly killed dozens of officers.
I also recall the innovative use of Ukrainian weaponry, specifically the R-360 Neptune missile.
That's a perfect example of adaptation. The Neptune, which was originally an anti-ship weapon, was modified and used in August 2023 to destroy an S-400 system on Cape Tarkankut. That ability to pivot your existing hardware to hit new kinds of targets demonstrates a constant technological evolution that Russia is struggling to keep up with.
So when we look at the Kerch Bridge today, the core question isn't really if it will be hit again, but what is its ultimate structural fate? We need to separate the idea of a total kill from a mission kill.
A total kill, completely blowing the bridge up is structurally incredibly difficult. These things are built with high safety factors. But the cumulative effect of 3 successful strikes, especially that devastating third underwater attack, it points strongly toward achieving a permanent mission kill in the medium to long term.
Exactly. Let's go back to the engineering prognosis after that 1,100 kilogram equivalent blast. The real clock that's ticking is saltwater corrosion.
Because the rebar is exposed.
Right. By compromising the concrete and exposing the internal steel, Ukraine has dramatically accelerated the structural decay. Engineers estimate the usable life of the bridge, especially its ability to handle heavy military rail loads, could be reduced to less than 5 years. The corrosion doesn't stop.
So even if Russia can patch the immediate damage, they're now forced to perpetually divert immense financial, maintenance, and security resources to protect a structure that's failing from the inside out.
It turns the bridge from an asset into a massive liability. The success isn't just measured in the immediate disruption of traffic. It's measured in forcing this long-term resource drain that serves Ukraine's overall strategic goal of isolating Crimea. So, considering Russia's dense, multi-layered defense system, employing everything from specialized marine mammals and advanced GNSS spoofing to physical barriers and massive smoke screens, what does Ukraine's repeated and increasingly successful ability to penetrate these layers tell us about the future of asymmetric warfare and the ultimate fate of fixed strategic targets like the Crimean Bridge?
I think it tells us that in modern warfare, the ingenuity of the attacker often outpaces the static defenses of the defender. The bridge, as a fixed target, represents a past paradigm of warfare, one that may not survive this new era of adaptive drones and sophisticated deep sabotage.
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
We hope this deep dive provided you with the clarity needed to understand the complexity and technological ingenuity behind the strategic attacks on the Crimean Bridge and the persistent campaign waged against Russia's military logistics.
So subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.